Hello to Betty Codona, a name that many of you will have heard, but perhaps not quite so many of you will have seen in person or met. So I'm very privileged to meet Betty Codona. I'm just going to start by asking Betty, can you just tell us your background in basketball and your history and how you got to where you are today?
Yes, it's quite interesting in respect that I was a PE teacher and
Okay.
I did the normal traditional netball, hockey, gym, dance stuff, and I'd come across basketball when I was training to be a teacher.
Okay.
And decided that after I'd done a couple of years and one lot of girls had gone through to an older age, that I thought, well, that looked a good game. I'll do some basketball with them. And I did. I didn't know much about it. But there's a lot of carryover skills from netball to basketball. Yeah. And so I did some with the girls and they absolutely loved it. And when these girls went through the full secondary experience and were ready to leave, they came to me and said, "Miss, will you start a club?"
Okay.
And I said, well, okay, if that's what you want. And the school was called Hatfield, which is where we got the Hatters from, because we were the Hatfield Hatters. And I thought, well, I better get to know a bit more about this game if we're going to have a club. So I just started reading up on it and looked into it a bit more. The club got going. Our difficulty was there was no one to play. There were no other women's teams.
No.
But
How long ago was this?
1961 we were formed.
Okay.
And so what we did, we sort of played some local youth teams. You know, we played in the male world, so to speak. And really that's how it started, and it's just developed from there.
So some other schools got teams and you developed a local league, did you?
Well, it was more that other cities got female teams, because it just didn't exist in England.
Right.
There were some teams in Scotland, but no teams in England or Wales. But a few more women's teams did set up then.
Okay.
And in fact, we took part in the first ever cup final, which was against a team from London. Probably about 8 women's teams,
Yeah.
full stop, in the entire country.
And you've won that quite a few times now, haven't you, Sheffield?
We have now. We didn't win that first one.
A little birdie tells me you're on for your 50th win soon.
Yes, so I'm told it will be the 50th title, yes.
And you have 2 daughters who...
I have 2 daughters.
And they both play?
Which played, yes.
And do they both play internationally, or...?
They both played internationally at junior level. My elder daughter didn't play much at senior level. She went in another direction. She's a very, very keen horse rider.
Okay.
My younger daughter, though, played internationally, became England captain, and was one of the most capped players, and of course was one of the coaches at the Olympics.
And that's Vanessa Ellis,
That's
right?
Vanessa Ellis.
Okay, fantastic. So how did the tournament that we're at today in Nottingham at the Wildcats Arena, how did that come to be named after you, and what does that mean to you?
Well, we were at the final fours for the junior competition, and while I was there I sat down and chatted to Mark Clark, who I've known for many, many years. Mark's very senior in in basketball,
okay.
say. And we were chatting about how the women's basketball scene was just not moving on. And so we thought, well, we ought to try and do something about it. So we called a meeting of the Division 1 clubs. Our first meeting was in Loughborough in that summer period.
Yeah.
And whilst at that meeting, a number of ideas came up, and one of which was to have a new competition, which would be a tournament in which all 8 teams would participate.
Division 1 teams, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Division 1 teams would participate. And there was one meeting, we had probably 3 or 4 subsequent meetings. Vanessa always went to the meetings as well, but one meeting I couldn't make. And when she came back from that meeting, she said, I've got to ask you something. Would you be happy if we called the tournament the Betty Codona Classic? And I said, well, of course I would. I consider it a great honour. I don't think there's anything quite as good as being recognised by your peers.
No.
I mean, okay, I've had other honours in my life, but I think the recognition and, you know, the feeling from your peers.
You've been recognised by the Queen, I believe.
Yes, I got the OBE for services to basketball and to women's sport, because I sat on a committee that was for Sport England that was about women and sport, because of the, you know, it was all equity stuff.
Yeah. So, with that hat on, what do you think is the biggest single thing that basketball, GB Basketball, England Basketball can do to get more girls not to drop out of PE when they leave school and to, you know, carry on with the fantastic game?
That's a really difficult question with quite a complicated answer, because I've wrestled with this for many years. It's getting the girls into the sport at the right age that is the problem, because as you know, I mean, we're just dominated by football in this country. It's just so dominant, it's untrue. And of course there's netball that's also...
do you think TV coverage would help? More TV coverage?
I think TV coverage would help. I mean, we do different things to get kids into the game, and I believe quite strongly that we need to get them at the primary school age, get them in while they're young.
It's not played very much at primary level, is it?
Well, there's not much played at primary level.
No.
My experience with my own grandson was that when he went to primary school, and he's still there in year 6, but from year 2 onwards, because of all the boys around him, the pressure was to play football. Football. All his friends played football. Everybody played football. And so, because of the family, obviously, he got into basketball and is a very good little basketball player. But for clubs, we've got to get out into schools. We've got to showcase, because I'm honestly of the opinion that once kids start playing basketball, they love it.
Hooked for life.
They love it. It's just getting that you know, bridge from school to a club, and it is a difficult bridge to cross.
Final question, Betty, then. So if you look 5 years down the road, what would your aspiration be for this tournament and for basketball for women and girls in this country?
Well, I'd like to be able to grow this tournament, because it is a standalone women's event. You know, we don't have to sort of be the starter game for the men's event.
Do you need sponsors and things like that?
And to try and really make it, and through that, get some real profile for the women's game.
Okay.
You need role models in sport.
Well, we've got some in your family.
Well, yes, and I think that's one reason why our club's quite successful.
Yeah. Well, I wish your club all success in the tournament this weekend.
Thank you.
And thanks very much for talking to GB Basketball.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.